Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel of Major Luck 92, the Shaman of Gaming. And more importantly and specifically, welcome back to my series, which is aptly named Rolling Back the Years, where I review my favourite or most memorable game from each year going back from 2011 to as far back as I can record it. So as you can see on the screen, we have reached 2004 and also reached what I believe is the best stealth slash tactical espionage action, as it says in the box, game of its era and possibly of all time, and that of course is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So at the beginning of this video I sort of want to talk about you know, why I actually believe that, you know, that's the case. And you know, I think the main thing is what I actually say a lot, and it's diversity and, you know, revolutionary new sort of features that they've added into the game. It's really similar, and I don't mean the game's really similar, but in the way it happened is really similar to the way Assassin's Creed did it. I touched on in my Rolling Back the Years series video where I reviewed Assassin's Creed 2, how in that series it took a few games for them to perfect it. You know, each game added the new features in, and then eventually they've rounded it into this ever perfect game. And it was similar to this. Obviously each Metal Gear Solid game was really revolutionary for its time. The first game on the PlayStation, I think it's probably the game I've actually completed the most times, played through the most times, and you know, I've just played that game to absolute shit. And you know, as I say, it's probably in my top maybe 10 favourite games of all time, so you know, that really paved the way, as I said, for a perfect game. One of the things that you can always count on with Metal Gear Solid is that the story is top class. Obviously it's really sort of political and you know, really sort of close to the bone, and no, yeah, it's really close to the bone, and you know, you can always sort of rely on it to have a really deep and sort of innovative and really sort of a story that really draws you in and what makes you want to, you know, play all the way through the game. So I think this game really did perfect on what the previous games did right. The first game was really possibly the first stealth game of that type, of its kind, you know, and of the time, really. So, you know, from that, Metal Gear Solid 2 really sort of built on that, although, you know, it's probably my least favourite game. That added a lot of, like, the animations and the features that you can actually do in this game, just to make this game so much better than it could have been, you know, originally, if they'd sort of pushed it through. But to be honest, I think stealth is my favourite thing in a lot of games. You know, it sort of branches across everything. Even like in my first-person shooters, I like to play like a stealthy role, and you know, say like games like RPGs like Fallout and Skyrim and all those kind of things. I really do like to be stealthy and be really sort of sneaky and, you know, all that kind of thing. It's something that really interests me. So this game is one of my favourite games ever, and I just love the fact that, you know, you can just... It was one of those games really sort of early on in you know, games' life cycles, really. You know, you see so many games nowadays, you know, you have games like that are based around stealth, sort of like Deus Ex and Dishonored and stuff like that, and they always stress that you can play the game the way you want it. I believe Metal Gear Solid was one of the first games to really do that. You know, you can go through this game without killing anybody, and even on this, which is the HD collection version, there's an achievement for going through the entire game without killing anybody. So, you know, you can either do that, you can go in, you know, guns blazing and really sort of cause an absolute ruckus. And I just love that about this game, the fact that it really brought a lot sort of new to the table. Did you see my guinea pig coughing on its food there? Greedy bastard. But yeah. But yeah, it's just something that's really always interested me, is when games really push the boat out and really force the issue on new features. And this is, you know, the Metal Gear Solid series is absolutely, you know, infamous for that. And it's just been made into such a rounded, perfect game, and I cannot wait for Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. I'm really not too excited about Rising. I probably won't get it. It looks more like Devil May Cry to me, so you know, it's really going against Metal Gear Solid's roots, so I don't think I'll be picking that up. But Ground Zeroes, an RPG open world version of Metal Gear Solid, does it get any better? I'm really looking forward to that. But as you can see it on the screen at the moment, I'm fighting Colonel Volgin and the funnily fucking named Shagohod, fucking bipedal tank. Basically, I think that's one thing that's really, you know, been great about the Metal Gear Solid games as well, is the boss fights are really good. Although I sort of have stressed, you know, the reason why I like Dark Souls and games like that so much is the fact that, like, with the bosses, there's not anything specifically that you have to do. I prefer a boss fight to be like that, but the boss fights on this, they're really, you know, with the way the music is sort of, is tied into it, and it's really well timed. The boss fights are really sort of, you know, they're really sort of epic, and they really get you to really get into it and enjoy it. So this is actually really sort of near the end of the game if you haven't ever played it. But some of the boss fights, I think this brought one of the most innovative boss fights and you know, different from anything else ever, which is if you've, you know, played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, basically there is, you know, this this group called the Cobras, and you know, there's one called the Fear, the Pain, the Fury, the Sorrow, and the End. And the End is what is possibly my favourite boss fight of all time. Basically, he's a sniper, he's like 100 years old, and you just get dropped into the middle of, like, the jungle, and you basically just have to find him by little sort of, you know, hints. Like, you can sometimes see the glint off his scope, you can use, like, thermal goggles, you can kill his parrot, and he starts making errors because he's sort of mourning over his parrot and stuff like that. It's just a really, really great, you know, boss fight. It's so much different to anything else. Probably my favourite boss fight of all time. Either that or, as I said, one of the Dark Souls boss fights. But it just brought so much to the table that nobody had seen before, and it's just so outrageous for its time. Also, I think Metal Gear Solid 3, well, 2 and 3 were possibly, you know, two of the better sort of games graphically on the PS2. Even though that's not really that, you know, important, particularly, especially, you know, in sort of older games away from, you know, what the graphics that we have now are. You could always sort of guarantee with the Metal Gear Solid games that they go out of the way to make it look great as well as, you know, feel great. So if anybody's playing through the game and you're looking for all the Kerotan frogs, that's where the one in the boss fight is. I just thought I'd stick that one in there. That's what she said. But yeah, as I said, I'm really just a huge fan of espionage and stealth, but there's also a way to play this game where you can be an absolute menace. I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're a sort of new player and you know, you haven't played this type of game before. I really would sort of recommend that you take the stealth route and stay out of trouble, because you really can get yourself in some troubled situations. So I would really recommend against going in all guns blazing, unless you're an absolute maniac. But also, what I love about this game is the fact that, you know, as you can see at the moment, I'm just switching between weapons. There's so many different weapons on it, and there's always like a different path to take. You know, if you see one path and you're like, you know, maybe that's a little bit dangerous, maybe I'll sort of give myself away if I go that way, there's always another way, and that is what I love about stealth games so much. I recently played through Dishonored, and I absolutely loved it. It was really short, but I love the fact that, you know, you can just play the game the way you want it. You can stay out of everybody's way, and you know, or you can just absolutely fuck people's shit up and push it in. But so yeah, that's one thing you always really should be looking out for and sort of get acquainted with if you're going to play stealth games, is the fact that there's always another route you can take. It's a pattern in stealth games that you should really get used to. So this video is coming to an end. I think we'll actually just let this cutscene play out for people who are you know, fans of that, and this game sort of paved the way for that on Metal Gear Solid 4 to have, you know, really beautiful looking cutscenes that really sort of draw you in. So I will let you watch this, hopefully enjoy it, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I will link 2 videos after this one, and I will see you very soon. One more thing, periods.